Welcome to this special edition episode of the podcast to celebrate the launch of the book You've Got This. On today's episode, you hear the chat I had with Siobhan Miller, who is the founder of the Positive Birth Company. This journey started after a traumatic birth of her first child, which left her with severe postnatal anxiety and scared about the health of her baby. When she became pregnant again, some 7 years later, she knew it had to be different. She stumbled across hypnobirthing and attended a class to find out that actually, in just one session, her entire view of birth changed. It led her to feel empowered and confident, and not like she'd felt before. After the birth, Siobhan wanted to change her career away from marketing and started a psychology master's, which actually aligned so well with hypnobirthing, and she became a qualified hypnobirthing teacher in 2015. She started teaching conventionally at venues, but quickly evolved the idea to cater for people all over the world, allowing them to access hypnobirthing at a much lower price point. Now the company has developed a suite of courses that helps people all over the world and has become a real force for good, a real authority on this subject and so much else. I think you're going to love this story. I think you're going to love Siobhan. Enjoy. So can you start by telling us about how you got into what you're doing now?
Sure, yes. So I had my first baby over 16 years ago, almost 17 years ago, and I was just 20 when I was pregnant. So I was a very young mum. Um, Obviously I hadn't got a clue about birth. I went to some kind of free classes at the hospital. I learned some kind of basic information, but I was still very naive. And so when I was my due date, I was offered an induction. Well, I wasn't really offered an induction. I was told that I was going to be induced, so didn't really feel like I was making a choice. Um, but all the same, I thought that simply meant my baby was going to come sooner. So I was very excited for it. So I didn't have any idea of any risks or what that might mean for my birth. The labour lasted 2 days. Not always the case with induction, but obviously my body wasn't really ready. And I wasn't doing anything to help the process because I didn't know what I could do to help the process. So it went on, and eventually I was taken to theatre for a cesarean. His heart rate was dropping, and they took blood from him, and his oxygen levels were low. When I got to theatre, I was fully dilated, so the doctor was able to use forceps, and so I gave birth vaginally in theatre. But by that point, I'd already been numbed, ready for the cesarean, so I was, like, numb from the neck down, so it wasn't a very pleasant experience. It was quite frightening at times, and, yeah, it left me feeling very, anxious and, scared that I wasn't able to look after my baby or that his life was, in the balance. So I had really bad postnatal anxiety after he was born, and how that manifested for me was kind of intrusive thoughts and, real fear about him sleeping in case he just stopped breathing, so checking on him, like, all of the time.
Gosh.
Um, Obviously, I didn't speak to anybody about that. I just kept that to myself, and got on with my life. And then 7 years later, I was pregnant with my second son, and I really wanted to make the experience different. So I heard about hypnobirthing, and I didn't really know what that entailed, but everybody who had done it raved about it. So I wasn't hearing any kind of bad feedback. So I thought, you know what, it's worth a go. So I signed up to a hypnobirthing class. It cost me quite a few £100s. So that's not something I would have had the kind of funds to do first time round. I had to travel to the other side of London, because this was 9 years ago now, so it wasn't very common as it is. It wasn't as common as it is now. Um, but straight away, like within the first session, I just felt like a million light bulb moments. Like, oh my god, that makes complete sense. Why did I not know this before? Um, and my whole view about birth just changed like instantaneously. So I carried on going to the hypnobirthing classes, did my practice, felt really calm and positive in my pregnancy, not fearful at all, really looking forward to giving birth. And I remember saying to my partner that even if things didn't go as I hoped, I would have felt that doing hypnobirthing was beneficial just for the impact it had, antenatally.
Yeah.
So I ended up planning for a home birth, which was very different to my first birth experience. I gave birth at home. It was Christmas time. I gave birth to him on the sofa. The Christmas tree was like twinkling. It was all very lovely. Um, Unfortunately, afterwards, I did have quite a lot of blood loss, so I did end up having to transfer into the hospital, but managed to navigate all of that, feeling very calm and respected and informed. And ultimately, that didn't really overshadow my birth experience. I felt it was really positive. I really felt like a superwoman afterwards, like, "I did this, this is amazing." I was on a real high, which was the opposite of how I felt after my first son was born. So, after my first son, it kind of crushed my confidence, and I was left really frightened. After my second son, I felt like I can do anything. I felt this whole newfound confidence. So that was really wonderful. And simultaneously to that, I had been working in marketing, but I'd gone back to uni to do a psychology master's. And so I was looking to change careers and do something where I was working with people and somewhere where I felt I was making a difference. So these kind of personal life and professional life kind of aligned. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I felt like I'd found my calling. Hypnobirthing is a lot about psychology, like the psychology of birth, really. And it has such a profound impact, I think, postnatally, one's birth experience,
Mm,
then, which kind of filters out into how you're being a parent and the relationships you're forming. And yeah, I think it has a really profound difference on your life. So I I trained to become a hypnobirthing teacher after I finished my master's. That was in 2015. And then I started teaching hypnobirthing. And that is really how it all began. Um, and I started teaching classes, which is kind of the traditional route, like in a venue. And then quite quickly, I thought this is information everybody deserves access to. This shouldn't be like an elitist thing that costs hundreds of pounds, and you have to have childcare if you've got other children. I just wanted to make it accessible. So that's when I then created the online course, which is the hypnobirthing pack. And then that just really took off. That's how it happened.
did you have that big vision where a lot of people when they start their own businesses, well, some people don't have a big vision at all. Some people just want to do something quite small, but then sometimes something can happen and they go, actually, the potential for this is massive. Did you have one of those moments where you thought, I could, globally dominate in hypnobirthing, not in a kind of weird power crazed way,
Yeah.
but in a sort of, this could be mega?
Not initially, no, not like beforehand. I honestly thought I was teaching classes every weekend, and so I thought the online would be like a secondary thing to the in-person classes. And I honestly thought it was just a more affordable, accessible option. So if you couldn't afford to come to the in-person classes, and obviously they have to be a certain price because you have to cover the venue hire and there's a lot of costs.
Mm.
Or if you couldn't get there for whatever reason, or you had other children, or it just wasn't the way you learn, like you preferred to kind of watch stuff online. I thought it would be a secondary thing, but it absolutely eclipsed what I was doing in person. Um, and then it just started going. I thought, well, this can't last. This can't. Thousands of people were signing up, but then it's just carried on going, and it's just really snowballed into what is quite well. Obviously, still a very small business, but there are employees. We have an office space. Um, People are using the course all around the world. It has it has become a much bigger thing than I had ever imagined.
Were there any times when you felt really overwhelmed by the success of what you'd created?
Oh, many times and still now.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah,
How
it's a very overwhelming thing, and not just hypnobirthing, but running a business, which obviously isn't my background. My background is, I trained to become a hypnobirthing teacher, and um, my mission really was to make it accessible for people so that everybody would have that opportunity to have access to decent antenatal education and a better birth experience. So that's really been my core um, motive. But then, obviously, as things have grown and there's inquiries coming in and customer care and there's communities that needed management, I couldn't do everything myself. So I've had to kind of set up a business whereby there are employees doing different bits. And then actually, your role becomes a business owner and you're a leader and you're managing people. And there's HR to think about and payroll and, you know, we've become a B Corp business,
Oh,
which is
wow.
amazing. But we have so many things that we're accountable for, and there are just so many things, and that is overwhelming because that's not my background. So I've had to kind of learn on the job.
How
Um,
how have you dealt with that level of overwhelm? Because again, for some people, you start down this course, and the overwhelm can become so great that some people go, actually, no, I'm good. No, stop it. I'm here. I'm fine. Or even retreat back to employment or something else, because it can be all consuming, can't it?
yeah. In all honesty, I just haven't felt like I've had that option to quit because with the type of business that it is, there are people actively signed up and using the course all the time. So that it's not like a tangible product that I send out and then I could just stop sending out that product and say, actually, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. It's real time that people are learning and using the courses and the apps and all of those things. So um if I've ever felt overwhelmed to the point that I'm like, "I can't do this anymore," I've just had to have a word with myself or like, I can't quit, like, there isn't an option, so I just have to find solutions, basically. So how to deal with the overwhelm is I have to find solutions to make it viable,
Mm. And that's a
and
real
a lot of that has been hiring people.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so outsourcing and hiring people and not trying to do everything myself. That's really been, what I've done.
That's quite a mindset shift though, isn't it, as well? If you've gone
Yeah,
from a non-business owner place to a
yeah.
business owner with lots of things coming at you, have you had to work on your mindset?
Yes, yeah, and to let go of things, and to trust that people are doing I used to be so close to every single element of the business. I mean, initially I was doing every single element of the business. Then I was so close to every single element. And now, obviously, it's been how many years? 8 years. Now I don't see the customer service emails. And I just trust that the team I have are dealing with that in the right way. So I have had to kind of in order to be able to just survive day to day, be like, I can't manage all of these threads. I have to hand them over, and I have to trust that the people doing them are doing them in the way that I would want them to be done,
Yeah,
and that is a mindset shift.
that makes complete sense. I think trust is a part of the overwhelm conundrum, isn't it? If you are giving
Yeah,
things away, or you are not doing things, or you are delegating, you do have to have
yeah,
that trust. Otherwise, you're going to be overwhelmed by the worry of
yeah,
what someone else is doing as
yeah.
well.
Because then you're like micromanaging, or you're checking that it's been done, and actually you've just got to, go. That's the point of that role that I've hired for. That's their remit. I have to let that go now. And actually, one of the really good bits is hiring people that are better at that thing than me.
Yeah,
Because I'm not an expert finance person or an expert HR person or, an expert email marketing person. So to actually find and hire people that I can learn from and that are doing a much better job than me, that's when I know I've got it right.
sure. Um, have you ever had any sort of issues with imposter syndrome? That's one thing, again, that I think lots of founders have, particularly with your business that went from you doing everything to being
Yeah,
really propelled at quite a high speed onto a global stage.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, and yeah, people think, oh, you're running a successful business, and so you must have a lot of business acumen or knowledge, and you know, people ask to share, my insights and stuff, and I just feel absolutely underqualified to provide any business advice because I just feel like I've been winging it and learning on the job and trial and error. So yeah, there is a big kind of imposter syndrome from that perspective. Not so much with teaching hypnobirthing. I feel very strongly in my core, that I I live and breathe that, but definitely on the kind of running a business side of things. Um, yeah, absolutely. And you see people who kind of have a business online, I see this, and then kind of set themselves up as a business coach. And that always kind of astounds me because I would not have the confidence to do that. Like, I do not feel in any way equipped to advise anyone on running a business just because just because I'm doing it, because I don't think that makes me an expert in it. I have a lot to learn, I feel.
Everyone has so, and the whole journey is a learning curve. I've
Yeah,
spoken to obviously quite a few people interviewing for this book, and so many people and yeah, have it every day. Every time I do
yeah,
something new, I think, oh, um, And I think that's really interesting. And someone else I was speaking to was saying that in some areas they are supremely confident, and in other areas, absolutely not. And what you said there about, you know, your stuff with hypnobirthing, you absolutely know what you're
Yeah.
doing, you know what you do works. But then sadly, running a business isn't just about the stuff you know that works, it's all the other stuff. And that can really impact on self-confidence and self-belief, can't it?
Yeah, so, like, there's definitely bits that, I find it easy to go live on Instagram and do, like, a Q&A. People can fire their questions at me. I feel confident answering them, which I know a lot of people would be terrified about doing. But that is something I find, quite straightforward. I wouldn't mind doing that. But then there are other elements that are my weaknesses, when maybe from a kind of people management point of view, if there's like awkward conversations to be had, I find that absolutely terrifying. Whereas other people would find that more straightforward than going live on Instagram. So
Yeah.
yeah, there are certainly elements of my role as like a leader of a business where I feel very, yeah, not qualified to do that, or not. It's definitely not my strength, and I find it a lot harder.
But you've obviously found ways to overcome that block because you have built a really great business that continues to thrive and help
Yeah.
people at kind of their most fragile or vulnerable moments. How have you overcome that perhaps lack of self-belief in certain situations?
Don't know if I, because it's something I struggle with real time, that kind of self-belief in myself with those things that I find difficult. I still struggle with that now, but I would say huge part is the team, hiring the right people that can do that, and
Yeah.
that is their strength. And I always want to make sure that the people I'm hiring are doing the thing that is their strength, because I think that's when everyone's happy and that's when everything's going to go well, is
Mm.
that people are doing the thing that they're good at and that they enjoy. So that's what I try to make sure, that things that I am not good at or I don't enjoy, that I have somebody on the team who that is their thing that they like doing.
So would you say part of that is actually being really honest with yourself and identifying your areas of strength and perhaps the areas you're not as strong at?
Yes, yeah, and I guess all business leaders would have different strengths and weaknesses, and I think that's an important thing to acknowledge is, this is what I'm good at and this is what I'm not good at, and actually delegating the stuff that you're not good at to somebody who's better at it. I think that's the best thing you can do,
Mm.
um, for in-house happiness as well, for the kind of culture of the workplace, as well as what your business is doing out in the world.
Completely. And the last thing I'm going to bother you with today is obviously you've got an amazing social media following. You've got a real tribe of people who are so pro what you do, who rave about you. Has that been hard to build? And do you feel it's important as a business, as a business leader, as a human?
Yeah, I should have probably said that is like a huge part of keeping me going is the community. I was a bit negative earlier when I was answering the question, saying, sometimes I feel overwhelmed to the point that I want to quit. And I think, no, I can't, because um, people are doing the course real time. There isn't that option. I've got to keep going. Um, and that sounds a bit of a negative way of doing it, but the kind of flip side of that is the reason that I want to keep going is that I have a real sense of loyalty to my community, because they have been so wonderful to me. And
Mm.
so there is that feeling of not wanting to let them down, because I'm so grateful for the community and they have been so wonderful for me. And where the business is today, although I've talked a lot about the team, where the business is today is a largely down to the community that supported it. Because when I started out, obviously it was just me. There was no budget, there was no advertising, there was nothing. It was all word of mouth. And so I feel like I owe my business to the community that built it. And then obviously at a later stage brought the team on, and that's kind of more uh, now I have a team of people and they're all doing really well, and I hype them and I'm grateful for them. But I guess going back like 8 years ago, it was definitely the community that helped to kind of jumpstart the business. Um, that it's amazing to have that community, and it definitely keeps me going, because on any given day I can open like my personal Instagram and I've got messages from people who say, I gave birth last night, it changed my life, and every single day you're getting those lovely messages. And I know for the team as well, they're getting that through the social channels, they're getting that through email. So no matter how kind of like tough like the business side is, you have this wonderful kind of feedback daily where you're making a positive difference in the world, and I should have said that right from the start. That's the fire that keeps that you going, because you know that you're doing that. It's not just an obligation. It's yeah, there's like a real commitment from my side to make sure that I'm continuing to do the best by the community, and that keeps me going.
No, absolutely. And I think that sometimes if you're overwhelmed and want to kind of throw in the towel, that can be because, as you say, that perhaps areas you're not very strong at. Like I hate accounts, I hate numbers. I can
Yeah,
do them, but I hate it. So if I've had a day doing accounts and numbers, I think I can't be doing this. It doesn't mean I don't adore my clients, because I do,
yeah,
because I like doing the job I actually do,
yes,
but
yeah,
not so much the other stuff. So I
yeah,
completely get it. Um, you've got some quite sort of notable fans as well, haven't you, who have got, quite a strong presence on social media and wave madly as well.
yes, yeah, and that's been so helpful. Um, well, yeah, all different people do the course, and everyone that shouts about it, I'm so grateful for, because it literally has been word of mouth that's built the business. I don't think you asked if it was difficult to build a community. It hasn't felt difficult because people just come, and generally, they're really happy with the course, and not everybody's birth goes how they want it to go. And obviously we get a lot of messages from people saying, it was amazing, but we also get messages from people who've had a really difficult experience but still found it to be really helpful,
Yeah.
because they were able to stay calm as they navigated, the different things that might have happened for them in their birth experience. And even people who have, I remember a message I got just the other day, someone who was having a miscarriage, and
Mhm.
they found that the techniques that they'd learned were helping them with that. And even sadly, like heartbreaking stillbirth stories where, and I never expected that when I created the course that that would be who might benefit from it. I didn't have that in mind, but I
No.
realized that it's having a positive impact in people in ways I hadn't expected or known. And it hasn't felt hard to build that community, but there really is that strong sense of community. And like you say, sometimes celebrities shout about us, and that's obviously really nice. Um, but I think the messages that I remember most are actually just people that are regular people who have used the course or the app at a time which was really difficult for them, and it helped them. And actually those are the stories that stick with me in my memory.
Completely. I mean, have you got any tips around building a community? Because obviously, a lot of business people, we're building a community around a product or a service, but it's
Yeah.
bigger than the product or service, isn't it? To build a good community of engaged people.
Yeah. I think when I started, I was very much sharing as myself, and I wasn't kind of saying we or pretending it was like a corporate business. It was just me. And I think people will buy into that. I was trying to do something, I was trying to make a difference. And I shared my journey to creating the course. I shared, as I was doing the training myself, all kind of behind the scenes stuff. And I think people, yeah, they kind of, for whatever reason, seemed to back me. They wanted to see that come to fruition. And that's kind of how it started. And I shared like the reality of being a mum, having very young children when I started my business, like really young. I had a newborn like in 2016. So I was like juggling, two tiny children, an older child, and working really late at night, early hours of the morning. When I was writing the book, I shared all of that online, of like the real struggle of like trying to do it all. And I think that helps build that community, because community is like connection, right? Building relationships is all connection. So I think if you're starting out, that's really important to kind of show that vulnerability, and kind of, yeah, that helps to build the connection. It doesn't have to be like super polished when you're first launching, I don't think.
I actually think it's quite nice, even with really established business, to see the reality behind a situation.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it does make it more relatable, and we can see ourselves in situations.
yeah. And then I think that I agree. And then I think the second thing that has really helped is um when I first, like, because I built the website, and then I remember offering a free, I think it was an MP3 download if people signed up to like an email. And this is like day one, like starting an email list. And I realized quite quickly, like the more you give to your community, the more you get back. So I think from that kind of day one, I've very much been of like the mentality of like giving stuff rather than putting things behind a paywall and trying to monetize everything. It's been very much like, still if you go to our YouTube channel, we have free masterclasses all of the time. There's just so much content on there. Um, and I really feel like the more you give, the more you get back from the community. So that's, I would say, has been an important part of it as well.
I think some people feel like if they give too much, then people won't buy from them, but that's not really the case, is it?
I found like there's just been so much support for the business because we give so much, and especially during COVID when we knew that everybody was like locked down and people were pregnant and they weren't able to have their partners with them and they were stuck at home and they weren't allowed out and they had small babies. We did so much free stuff for our community during that time. So we had like play sessions. So like every morning at 9 o'clock, like live on YouTube, there would be somebody doing like a baby class essentially. So all those parents that were stuck at home that couldn't take their baby out to a class, like could get that
Oh,
online. We did like wind down sessions. So like every evening we had like guided meditations or sound baths or breath work sessions that were all free because
wow.
we knew that people were struggling. And yeah, so we always try to step up and help our community as much as we possibly can. And in more recent years, we've been able to give so much to charity and causes that are close to our heart and to our community's hearts. And I really feel that the more you give, the more you get back when you're in terms of building a community and those relationships.
And I love that. Is there anything else you would like to mention, thinking about the book's all about these blocks that small business people, entrepreneurs meet along their way to achieve their big goals? Is there any tips or anything else you'd like to cover?
This is where the imposter syndrome sets in because I feel like so unqualified to provide tips.
Just
So
your
no, I think
experience, though. It's
yeah,
just
my experience, like, is that I don't see there being a way when someone's starting out. There's a lot now on back 8 years ago, all of the messaging online I noticed was like side hustle, 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 and celebrating that busyness. And now there seems to be a culture shift online where people are talking more about like work-life balance and things in moderation and prioritizing well-being and all of that. And I absolutely see the value of that. But I haven't quite worked out or don't know if there was a way to reconcile that if you are starting a business and you have a startup business, how you can make that a success and prioritize your well-being. And maybe there is a way, and maybe someone more wise than me will have the answer. But in my experience, I just think you have to work really hard.
yeah.
When you're starting out, unless you've got a big investment, you're not going to have a whole team of people. It's you doing everything, and it might not always be like that. It won't always be like that, hopefully, and you'll get to a point where you can hire people. But I think at first that grind, the daily grind of starting a business, it's a lot. And I think in my experience, you've just got to get through that bit, and then hopefully you'll get to a position where you can start to outsource things.
No, completely. And there's a chapter in the book called Should I Go All In? And although on one side that's talking about how you can actually have a full-time job, and if you want to develop a side hustle, you can do
Yeah.
that. But I'm also going to include something about you do have to be all in your kind of pursuit of that goal, because if you
Mhm.
really want it, it is hard work.
Yeah.
Sadly, there's no silver bullets. It doesn't matter how much thinking you do, you still have to do the work to get to where you want to go.
And I think that when you're and hopefully most people who are starting a business, they feel really passionate about the thing that they're doing, whether it's a product or service. So in a way, it's exciting and it doesn't feel like work because you'll work all day and night and you'll be loving it because it's your baby. Um, so hopefully it doesn't feel too much of a slog at the time. I guess that's important as well. Like if you're going to go all in, you have to really believe in it and really love it.
Yeah. Because if
And I
you
think
take
if
up
you're doing something to make some money and you're not really a believer in your thing, then it's gonna be hard.
Yeah, I think it is, because you do have to give so much time, energy, brain space.
Yeah.
You have to prioritize things over. We have to prioritize it, sorry, over other things. So
Yeah.
it has to
You
matter.
have to believe in it, and you want other people to believe in it. So yeah, you have to believe in it, and also it takes over your mind. Yeah, like, I think that's one of the biggest challenges is that it's not like a 9 to 5 where you leave and maybe you don't think about work till the next day when you turn up at your desk again. It does take over your mind, and again, I don't have the solution for that.
Um,
Um, but you can't it doesn't seem to switch off for me anyway. I find it difficult to switch off. It's, like, always on.
No, I agree. When I'm walking the dog or often in the shower, I'm not in the shower
Yeah,
often. I mean, when I'm in the shower and I have that moment of just when you're, just showering, and I'll
yeah,
start getting ideas about work because it's that
yeah.
moment of quiet and
The
calm.
shower is my idea space as well. I
It's
love the shower, the water. I, like, come up with all my best ideas in the shower.
I do. I come out of the shower, oh my God, I must message such and such.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
completely. Thank you so, so much for your time today. I massively appreciate it. Got some really great insights there, which I'm really excited to include in the book.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. I'm sorry I sound so, bunged up and a bit down at the dumps. I'm not.
No, well, you sound brilliant, and you're honestly the wisdom you've given is amazing. And I really wish you'd been around when I've got two 8-year-olds, and I had quite a awful birth experience with them. They were twins, and I was induced, and it was not a great experience. But since then, I've heard loads about hypnobirthing, and thought, damn it, that would have been really useful. So,
Yeah, I feel like that with the first. I'm like, if only I'd known then. One last thing I just thought of was, I don't know if this will be useful, but when the app, the Freya app, which is like a virtual birth partner, for so long I didn't think that that was something. I'm not an app developer, and I kept thinking like this app should be made. Why is this app not made? And then eventually I was like, I'm just going to look into getting this made myself. And so I think sometimes, I guess that's a bit of imposter syndrome, just thinking like, oh no, that's not something that I would be capable of doing. And
mm,
then actually thinking someone else is going to do that. And then no one does that. And you're like, why can't I do it? So I think that mindset thing, actually going back to that question, sometimes it's thinking, well, why can't I do that?
yeah,
Instead of like your mental voice tells you that you can't do that, and then just kind of twisting that and be like, why can't I? Um, like building a website, I would have thought like I can't build a website. And then I was like, why can't I build a website?
yeah.
Um, and so I think sometimes you can do more than you realize, and you can just kind of learn while you're doing it.
Completely. And it's like challenging that self-talk, isn't it? um
Yeah.
can't do this. Well, on what basis, on what grounds? And rather than those beliefs we've always had.
Yeah, and I think especially like if you're running a business and you don't have that in your family, like you don't have like a mentor or a role model or experience, which is the case for me. Um, Sometimes I think, oh no, well that wouldn't be for me. Like, and I'm like, why not? That's just because of the way I brought up. I never saw somebody doing that. I never saw
Mm,
someone being entrepreneurial or taking that risk, and then thinking, well, why can't I do that?
sure. No, that makes a lot of sense.
Had to kind of change that mindset so I wasn't kind of restricting myself.
Definitely, because that growth mindset is so important as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. When you're looking at your business and how it can grow and develop, you need to believe stuff's possible and look for the learning and the opportunity, don't you?
Mhm. And also as like a woman and as a mother, very few, like, when you think about high profile people, people in business, it's not often women or mothers. So sometimes I would feel like I'm restricting myself, and then I have to try and have that internal talk, yeah, and change and be like, no, I can do it. Why can't I do it? If a
Definitely.
man can do it, why can't I do it?
Absolutely. You can do it after giving birth to 4 children, which is
Yeah.
nothing short of, miraculous. So do you think, the female body is quite miraculous, and when you
Yeah.
think about how it creates, life, but then, as you say, we do really limit ourselves on other things, and you kind of think, I'm
Yeah.
a human, I can probably do this. So,
Yeah, and I do. I go back to that. I go back to like that second birth experience, which was really life changing for me. And I think that strength that I had, and I think if I can grow and produce a whole entire human, then I can do this website thing.
you're right,
Yeah.
absolutely. Oh, brilliant. It's been amazing to speak to you. Thank you so, so much. I really appreciate your time.
Good luck with your book.
Thank you.
I look forward to reading it.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, no, I'm excited about it. It should be really good. I'm really excited about it. There's some amazing people like your good self in it, with that sort of wisdom and that insight. I think brings that, this is the theory, this is a concept, this is
Yeah,
how it works in real life. And I feel like that's going to give people a lot of food for thought and confidence and tools to go on.
hope so. Well, sounds like a book I'm going to need, so I'll definitely read it.
Oh, bless you. Thank you so, so much for your
Thank
time.
you.
Have a great day.
Bye. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you've loved it. To find out more about Siobhan and the Positive Birth Company, go to www.thepositivebirthcompany.com. And if you have got the book, thank you so much. It means the world to me. If you'd like to leave a review, please do wherever you bought it. And if you haven't got it yet, you can find You've Got This at all good bookshops. Just Google You've Got This Rhea Freeman and you will find it. Thanks so much.